What's going on, guys? It's your boy Jay. Welcome back. Today we have Tariem, who is the Director of Careers Affairs at Drexel University. So let's sit down with him and see what he's got for us. What's going on, guys? Welcome. Please join me in welcoming Tariem here. Tariem, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing, Jay?
I'm doing all right. We'll get started. Tell us a bit about yourself, your background, your school, things of that nature, and we'll start from there.
Sure. Well, my name is Tariem. I am a native of Philadelphia. I've lived here pretty much all my life, except when I went away to college, which I went to the University of Scranton, where I got my undergrad in elementary education. Upon doing that, I came back to Philadelphia and I worked in, actually I started out working in a kindergarten.
Okay.
And which was very interesting, because I wanted to be work with older kids, but I didn't get the opportunity. So I really enjoyed that experience, which then gave me the ability to work in after-school programs. And I would say that's really where I kind of changed the trajectory of the career that I wanted to go to in my life path. From there, I did that for 2 years, and then I did AmeriCorps. And after doing AmeriCorps for 2 years, I remember the first day when I joined and we were picking our spots. This was also in Philadelphia. I was told that I'll be working in a high school in Southwest Philly. And I was like, well, that's very different from from everything I've done in life. And I actually kind of walked away for a second. My manager was like, no, you should go back. This is going to be a great experience. And it was a great experience because it gave me managerial experience as well as working with another age group. So remember, I went to school for elementary ed, and then I went to working with kindergarten, and then I ended up in high school. So I was kind of across the board. And again, this will all make sense in a second when I introduce what is my career right now.
Okay.
So I did that, and then I started working at some after-school program again, working with middle school. It's like, well, I haven't worked with this population before. And it was for an after-school squash program.
Okay.
And so that was great. And then someone said, you should do this job, which then led me working for running a childcare center in Northwest Philadelphia. It's like, all right, this is great.
So childcare, interesting, okay.
So I'm still in the field of education, which is kind of where I wanted to be. But then I kept getting put in these kind of managerial, administrative positions.
Okay.
But
now the childcare, was that administrative or was it
It was administrative.
Okay, that makes sense.
Again, I want to work with kids, but I didn't really want to work for administration, but I kept kind of being forced. People saw it in me. But anyway, so this led me to get my first master's in organizational development leadership at Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine.
Okay.
Which kind of then connected me to the healthcare sector. And during that position, running a childcare center, I got in contact with one of our, what are they called? Community partners, and it's like, do you want to work with these medical students? And I was like, sure, I'll work with these medical students. They're my interns, blah, blah, blah. So you have to tell them how to work with in community settings. It's like, I can do that. I've been all across the board right now. So then after doing that, she's like, do you want to come on and be my partner of facilitating groups with them? I was like, sure. So I'm gonna just skip ahead for 2 seconds. So I want to going back to elementary education and even further back to early child education. So pre-K is when I ended up after that.
Oh my God! All right. So you had a little bit of roller coaster. All right.
We're getting closer. So then after doing their pre-K work, someone said, "Hey, do you want to work at med school?" I was like, doing what? It's like, you can adjunct the class in med school. I was like, all right. So I just jumped the gamut from working in early childhood education in pre-K to working in med school.
Right.
So I did that for about 3 or 4 years, and I was in charge of connecting students to community settings. This is something I really enjoy doing, and teaching students on how to engage in communities and whatnot. And it also made me want to go back to school again. I like going back to school. So I got my...
that you do.
I got my second master's in education and entrepreneurship. And doing a lot of work with social impact, which then led me getting certifications in geographic information system, which involves like community mapping and strategic planning and whatnot. And then later on getting a certification in teaching in higher ed. Because then I went back to school again and got, so I'm pursuing my PhD in medical sociology. So I look at community relations as well as empathy and like how people get along with one another.
Wow.
And so then it led me to kind of where my final path is. So I'm currently the director of career services and experiential learning for the School of Public Health at Drexel.
Okay.
So all these experiences that I brought up in this very long, convoluted, long-winded story, but it gave me the ability to know how to work with people across the divide. Also teaching me the value of relationships. A lot of these opportunities that I had was because of the people that I knew. And so when I talk to my students, I also wind up teaching a class in Civic 101, also at Drexel. I tell my students, like, there is an importance of relationships and getting to know people. And it really helps you in life, but it doesn't have to be like this transactional thing.
Right, absolutely.
It can be very natural.
Yep.
And keeping it natural is actually, it suits you so much better because people remember you.
Right.
We don't always remember people that we network with because of that transactional relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So I always tell my students that. And as I am in this current position and talking to students about their jobs and where they can be, it's just like really remember the importance of these relationships. But also every relationship is important in some kind of way. And you may not know it at that time, but it will be. Remember the people that you meet along the way because you may need them, and you may not realize it. They may say something really important or really clever to you that just doesn't sink in till later on, and it's really great. And so as I continue to move into this role of like talking to students, it's like, don't believe that straight path. Also think of adjacent sectors. Adjacent sectors is like, I want to like work in this healthcare center. How many other things come in contact with this healthcare center?
Right.
Think really outside of the box about what you want to do, and you could probably find something that you are actually more in sync with, and you may not even know that align with a lot of your interests, because everyone has other interests.
Right.
You're not just interested in one thing. So think of like other adjacent sectors.
You already got into your career path. You already got into how you got into the field. So what is like a entry-level salary for a director position for someone in your career path?
Probably 60.
Okay.
Again, but I've been in my career for a long, so I can
right.
a little more, but probably 60.
Makes sense. Okay, and then kind of going forward, what does your day-to-day exactly look like in terms of when you go into the office? I'm sure you're I don't know if you're working 9 to 5. What kind of structure is it? And are people coming to see you? Kind of like walk us through that if you could.
So in this particular role, a 9 to 5, it's not really cut and dry.
Right, of course.
Because a lot of it's connecting with people and waiting for people to like reconnect to you. I mostly work with PhD students and grad students. So you got to do some of the legwork on your own. So we have like a database for you to kind of sift through, and like Handshake and Indeed and whatnot, for you to kind of go through to look for different jobs. Okay. But I can help you tailor your resume and actually talk you through a lot of things that people don't understand. Is that, well, I went to school for this, and these are the only things I can do. It's like
I hear that all the time.
It's like you can do so many other things, but which we call transferable skills. And so just like really talking to people, like, well, what experiences have you had? Well, I've done this. It's like, oh, so you mean this? And you're like, oh, I never thought about it like that. So a lot of like reframing, and
so you're like coaching them specifically for whatever they're interested in.
Exactly.
Wow.
So it's a lot of conversation.
Okay. So what do you think is the most enjoyable part of your job?
Oh my God, just talking to people. It's just like talking to people and like coaching them and just having like general conversations, and
it's like you're in the perfect place because you love networking, and then people are coming to you to network. Now
right,
you
I don't have to really go anywhere.
Yeah, like it's just like a spider web. So what do you think is the least enjoyable on the flip side of it?
Waiting for people.
Just
waiting for people.
Okay.
But again, I have experience in that. I remember just going to schools and like, well, I got my bag here with me. I brought snacks, and I will just sit here and wait for you. And I have a book.
Okay, well, the next question I have that I know you've been kind of like a bit all over the place with your career path, but if you were to change something about your path, what would that be?
If I was to change something about my path, I don't think I would change anything about my path. I am a person who is generally sometimes kind of rigid and it's like, this is what I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to do it. So being on this more like circuitous path in life, I think it has helped me as a person, being like less like rigid and like kind of set in my ways. And it's like, yeah, you just go with the flow sometimes. That's very important.
So I know you've been in this journey for a long time. Anything shocking that has happened in this world of yours?
I think the most shocking is individuals' inability to pivot in this changing world.
Explain.
So some people get like really set in their ways and like this is where we're going to do it, and they're like, why is this not working? It's like, well, because the world is not the same that it was before. So it's just still shocking to see like people so much resistance and pivoting in this ever-changing world.
What is your career goal in terms of, if you were to think about right now?
If I was like going past this, so as I said before, I'm getting my PhD, and someone's like, well, are you going to become a full-time professor? It's like, first off, I learned way early on in life that I do not want to be in front of a classroom.
Right.
But I also like to see that things progress and things move forward. So something that involves like a hybrid of like administration, but also gives me an ability to teach because, again, like I said, I like to learn as well. And what does that look like? I don't know.
You'll find it.
I'll find it because I didn't know what most of my jobs looked like, and I kind of made them what I wanted them to be. So
our viewers had some questions specific to you. Shout out to Alexis and Lamin. What are some of the blanket traits that you can have that can actually help you in any type of career if you were to pick a couple of things?
As I said before, relationships are important. So being able to talk to people, but also being very genuine when you talk to people. People want to know that you are actually interested in them, and it's a really hard thing to teach. Which you think that it would be. It's like just be yourself, and well, some people don't know who they are. So continue to be open. Never really lock yourself or your mind into one particular thing that you are interested in. Like as I said before, you have multiple interests. We are human. That's how we're built.
Right.
So just keep your mind open, and also continue to connect to people. Stay connected. It's just so important because someone may have something that you may need at some point. You may have something that they need, but you're kind of keeping a relationship open. And I would say the next thing is learn how to write. There, like they're all different words. So make sure you use them in the right context. And double check it. Reread your email before you send it.
Gotcha.
That's also important. I know they seem like really, sometimes they may seem like small things, but they're actually really, really important if you get there, kind of mixed up.
Well, Tariem, that was all for me today. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
And
thanks for having me, Jay.
I'm sure our other viewers will have questions for you, and we'll go through that. And if you could answer that for us, that'd be great.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
If you are interested in a specific career path or know someone who'd like to be interviewed, please email us at askalutely@gmail.com. That's basically absolutely without the BS.